Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us for this mid edition of HR Mentorship Learning Series. Today, we'll be looking at a topic, HR policy formulation, importance and impact. And facilitating for us tonight is Olakunle Onje, who is the lead HR operations Fume House Group. He has a quality experience in human resources management and also administration. He started his career as an HR intern with Greenlight Planet with responsibilities in day-to-day office operations, recruitment, onboarding, and so on and so forth. Subsequently, while at the same organization, he picked up more responsibilities in another organization as people operations associate with core responsibilities, including payroll, facility management, end-to-end talent management, acquisition, and management. He also had brief stints in HR consulting and aviation sector as an HR business partner. Currently, he works at Fumehouse Group as lead HR operations, taking on more strategic functions such as policy formulation and review, managing disciplinary processes within the company, and compensation and benefits, and other HR value chain. He is a lover of movies, and this is working at the right place. Animes and any other good food the world has to offer. Ladies and gentlemen, please let's take him seriously as we have speaking to us on HR policy formulation, importance, and impact. Olukole, you have the floor.
All right, sir. Thank you very much, Dr. Oluyemi, and good evening, everyone. Well, welcome to this evening's session of HR Mentorship Learning Series. Before I go into the presentation for today and the talk that we have today, I'd like to take a moment to just appreciate Dr. Oluyemi for this wonderful opportunity and privilege to do this evening. And I also want to appreciate him for all the push, the push and the being on me to take a session. Thank you very much, sir. I really do not take this for granted. Okay, so yes, just to start off, we know that the HR sector as it is, for many of us or for many organizations and in general, mostly, many people do not understand the value that HR brings to an organization, and they do not really, and even some HR personnel, when you engage one or two persons, you tend to see that they really do not understand or really do not grasp the full meaning of what an HR is to a company. They do not understand that as HR, you are the heartbeat of that company, and literally everything that you do dictates the day-to-day and bearings of that company. And one key aspect of HR, we have a lot of key aspects of HR. There's the payroll administration, compensation and benefits, there's performance management. But one key aspect of HR that many times we tend not to understand is this part of the formulation of the policies that guide the day-to-day activities in a company, and even how HR interacts with the business and also with the employees. In my brief stint in consulting, I saw where companies that want to start up their companies or are trying to put structures together, I saw how they had to reach out to experts in this field, and really putting structure together, starting up your company, everything still boils down to the HR policies within, not even just a matter of, okay, the financial processes, the operational processes. It still boils down to what the HR policy is all about. And so the learning series this evening, we're going to be looking at why is HR policy important and what is the impact of the HR policy in an organization. So there are different policies, definitely, but as we go into the session this night, we'll be able to touch base on a few of them. And so, yeah, this is just the content just to show us. We'll be talking about looking at introduction to HR policy formulation, defining HR policies, types of HR policies, just briefly touch on the types of HR policies that there are, and key elements of effective HR policy and the importance of HR policies, and as well as the impact of a well-formulated HR policy. Now, so I'm putting down here that in managing resources and humans within an organization, HR policy formulation cannot be downplayed. Yeah, I already said that in my introduction that many people do not understand the importance of HR policy and why we do this. It's a funny thing that the department or the profession itself is even called human resources, and that is the entirety of what an organization is. You have the human and you have the resources, and the resources can also be human factors, can be capital, can be financial, and can be intellect also. HR policies are an integral part of an organization that seeks to create a harmonious relationship among staff. And one thing I didn't put there also is, aside from creating a very harmonious relationship among staff, HR policies is integral to creating a very harmonious relationship between staff and management. We see oftentimes a disconnect between these two, that is between the management and the staff. And that is where the HR comes in, that is where our policies also come in, just to bridge that gap, to make sure that everybody, especially the management and even the staff, know, okay, why am I in this company? What are we doing? What is our goal? Where are we going to? And my day-to-day that I'm doing right now in the company, how does it affect, or does it get us to the final destination which we are looking to go? By understanding the role of HR policy, the role HR policy plays in organization and its culture, organizations can thrive in an ever competitive environment. So yeah, this week, one of the trending things for those of us that are very tech oriented, one of the trending things has been the fact that iPhone just released a new series, iPhone 16, and across different sectors, if you're online, when you check across different, you see many people are now beginning to understand that, okay, as far back as iPhone 11 up until 16, there's really not been much changes in the gadgets. There really not been much changes, just a little bit add-ons here and there. And even some of the add-ons are things that Android users, so to say, already have long before the iPhone 16 even came out, or even the 15 came out. So HR policy is a way in which we can, as HR, strategically position our company in an ever competitive environment. We're able to say, okay, fine, we know we want to do this now, but how does it play with our competitors? That's why even now the field of HR is so vast that you now have HR business partners that go just way beyond the day-to-day running of the company, but also looking into the business itself and how they can support the business. And I said here also that employee behavior and organizational operations are guided by the policies HR formulates and implements. So we all know, as HR professionals, we all know that one of the hardest set of people to control or even to manage are the people. And if we keep every time just saying to employee A that, oh, you can't do this, employee B, you can't do this, you can't do that, we might not be able to get down to doing the nitty-gritty of what we need to do to move the business forward. And that's where our policy formulation comes in. Like for all of us, we all know that once a staff just joins the company, the first thing is maybe the first week or the first month or in the first 2 months, 3 months, depending on the size of that company and your recruitment traffic looks like, you have an onboarding process. And in this onboarding process, it is meant to be that the staff, the new employee is taken through, okay, this is how we operate in the organization here. These are the things that we do here. This is how we do things. And this is the time we come in. This is our dress code. We don't say this kind of things. We have respect for every single person, excuse me. I have respect for everyone in the organization. So that process that we're able to do vis-a-vis has now become a policy. It's now our onboarding policy as HR and even as an organization. So that's why HR policies guide the day-to-day and also helps in organizational operations. So a marketer knows that, oh, when I'm going out, I have certain benefits already allocated for me. For many companies, there are company cars, pool cars that can be used, or even your transport is being reimbursed up to a certain amount or a certain limit because maybe people have over a period of time abused that benefits. Now we now have to put a cap to it and just say, okay, for this distance, you will be reimbursed up until this amount and you have to bring receipts. So these are why we need HR policies. I know I'm dropping the gun a bit there, but it's just to bring us up to speed. So let's define what HR policy is all about. HR policy is a set of guidelines, procedure, codes, and regulations adopted by management with the sole purpose of guiding workplace activities within agreed upon limits. So yes, there has to be a limit. There has to be a stopping point. There's a starting point and there's a stopping point. And it has to be agreed upon. You don't just start a process. You don't just start a procedure. You don't just bring in regulations. It has to be agreed on. I've been in a situation where we're trying to implement a new process in the organization, and we are sat down with different stakeholders. We are sat down. We are looked at, okay, what are the different parameters? What are the likely challenges we are going to face when we implement this? And we try to just come up with solutions just to make sure that the policy, by the time we are rolling it out, is going to be very fair to everyone. But at the point of implementation, we hit a roadblock. And what was that roadblock? By the time we rolled it out and we communicated to all the staff, it was literally like it was a mutiny. It was almost like a mutiny immediately. There was different backlash from the staff saying that, oh, why would you do this? Why would you people just sit down and decide on this? What was really the backlash was that part of the policy was there was going to be sanctions for not adhering to the policy. And the sanctions were going to be affecting salary. And we all know that there is no staff, even I as HR, I will not sit down and allow for any to affect my salary in any way when it's not a loan I'm repaying or something. So there was that backlash. So we now had to go back, sit down again and look at it and say, okay, fine. One thing that we didn't do properly was to have like a town hall or like a pre-meeting just to get a feel of how this will be received if we roll this out. So that is where the agreeing comes in. It's not just the management now that needs to agree, but also your staff, because you don't want a situation where, especially for organizations that have no union, you don't want a situation where you now indirectly promote unionism. So you'll have factions of people saying, oh, I'm not going to do this. HR can do the worst. Management can do the worst. If it's my salary, if they touch it, I'm leaving. So you tend to start having all of that. So, but once there's an agreement, once everybody has come together and there's an agreement, this is reduced to the barest minimum. You're able to reduce it to the barest minimum. And here also, HR policies are rules and guidelines organizations put in place to hire, train, assess, and reward members of their workforce. So I just brought it down again to just look at, okay, as an organization, why do we even need HR policies? Because without HR policy, you don't even know who to hire. You can literally, anybody can walk up the road or the streets and walk into your company and you will just take in the person. But these policies, your recruitment policy is there to just guide you and let you know that, oh, for this role, I'm going to be needing someone that has a BSc, or for this role, I need someone that has an MSc. For this role, I need someone that has specialized certificates already in this role. Just because, okay, the skills are different, the demands are different, the strategic needs are also different. And all of this comes about when there are appropriate policies in place to guide that decision-making process and even that recruitment process. And a quote from Dr. Steve Maraboli, he says, if they do it often, it isn't a mistake, it is just their behavior. So once we start doing these things often, it goes both ways really for management and even for staff. Once certain things start happening often, it's not a mistake. The first time is a mistake. But once certain start happening often, that means what? It has now become a behavior, and it now falls on the HR to look at it and say, okay, is this a behavior that we want to really allow for in our organizations? For instance, largely in Nigeria and also in Lagos in particular, every company, the resumption time is 9 a.m. And so if over a period of time, you tend to now see that employees are coming in by 9:30, 10 a.m. And the first thing that comes to mind as an HR is to find out why this is happening. And once you get that feedback in Lagos, we know that one of the major reasons for people coming late to the office, for those who adequately plan to leave their home on time, is traffic. I remember a period in time when the Third Mainland Bridge there were repairs going on the bridge. So in that period, even from my organization where we walked in, people coming from the mainland, there was that leniency of, okay, till 10 a.m., you can still come in and you're not being flagged as being late for that day because what? we are adjusting to the present situation. We are trying to now, but after all of that had been cleared out, we now have to go back and say, okay, see guys, you just need to be here by 9 a.m. You have no excuse anymore. We cannot now consistently be coming late because we do not allow for such behaviors in our organization. Okay, so these are just some types of HR policies that different organizations have. It's okay if you don't have some of these policy yet. You can always go back to just create one. You have the remote working policy for companies who have hybrid, who operate hybrid or even remote workers, which dictates, okay, when do you answer, how what's your grace period to answer to attend to mails, when availability for calls and even for meetings, how you should do and all of that. Then harassment policies, things to say, things not to say, how to behave in the organization and how not to behave. Employment classification policy, which dictates, okay, this person is an executive, this person is an associate. What are the criteria for you to even be considered a manager? And you have the dress code policy, because if you just allow for people to dress the way they want, you might have an organization where everybody just, maybe somebody comes to the office on a Monday wearing a bomb shot and a spaghetti top, and that is not what you're trying to promote in the organization. Discrimination policy, discrimination against pregnant women, discrimination against people with dreads, people with tinted hair, or even race, or just because I'm Yoruba, you are Igbo, that discrimination. So companies have tended now to have policies that guide against all of that kind of attitudes and behavior. Social media policy. The world we live in now, social media is literally everything. Social media is the way everyone is being viewed. And many companies now are not taking it very, very serious and kind of putting I don't want to call it restraint, but I want to say more of like checks in place for their employees, because your employee is your ambassador. So their social media also will speak to how people view your company, because many people that want to join a company, they tend to go and just look online and check employees. Okay, how do they behave? How do they dress? For instance, during the last I think it's Ojude Oba, the man who created, who was an internet sensation immediately. We saw how the social media immediately pushed him out there. And so imagine if he was working for your company and your company was into products and services. People will want to come to your company just because, okay, he works for you. So that kind of thing, that's why many companies are now very careful with their social media and even that of their employees. And sometimes they try to ensure that their top management are on point with their posts, with what they like, what they share on their social media. Social overtime policy that speaks to, okay, the office closes by 5, you're there till 6 o'clock working on projects pre-approved for you to be there till 6 o'clock. There is a certain benefit that is accrued to you because of that. Recruitment policies that say, okay, when do we recruit? How do we recruit? What platforms do we use to recruit? Do we go through LinkedIn? Do we use other methods? Compensation policy that speaks to, okay, how much are we going to be paying for this role? How would we what are the other things that we would ascribe to an employee of the company? And you have the confidentiality policy, which this is very, very, very key across every organization. I implore that if you do not have one yet, you try to look into this and set one up for your company. It's just but it's a bit tricky. I'm not really going deep into how confidentiality policy works, but it's always a very good one to have in your organization where, okay, setting discussions, especially in strategic meetings, stay there. They do not leave that meeting room, or they do not leave the people that are in that meeting. It's a need to know kind of meeting. So those people that are there know that I'm not meant to say this outside. Another year outside of this room should not hear it. Or even if somebody must hear it, it should die within the company. And then there are stiff penalties for breaching that. Let me just quickly move this. Okay. Yes. And then you have your business expense policy, which many of us know more to be the travel expense, the travel policy that we all have that says, okay, if someone is going to Abuja, for instance, are you going by road? If you're going by road, what's the cost? If you're going by air, which is aeroplane, what's the cost? And that's. And then leave policies that dictates, okay, annual leave, your sick leave, your maternity leave, your paternity leave, study leave, exam leave, whatever leave that as a company you decide upon and feel, okay, we need to have this as a company just to foster employees' engagement and also make them feel wanted and valued within the organization. And you have different people coming from different backgrounds. You have different people with different viewpoints, different ideologies. Definitely, you will need a disciplinary actions policy, which just says that, okay, in the event where there's a breach, to what point do we keep an employee that keeps earning, or to what point do we say it's time for you to go, we have to part ways? Do we condone insubordination? Do we condone disrespect? Do we condone abusive language? Do we even condone absenteeism over a long period of time? Or at what point does the company say, okay, this is our breaking point, we've tried our best, and we need to just part ways? And the health and safety policy, which just speaks to, okay, fire extinguishers in the office, exit points, having fire blankets, fireballs, just ensuring that there is safety. Sharp objects should be kept in this place. Electrical appliances in the office or all sockets have to be put off once it is 5 p.m. or once everybody has left the building. Are you assigning, let's say, the admin or the office assistant or even the security to go around the office and just put off every socket in the company? So this was just an overview of different type of policies, just for us to have like just to see beforehand how the different policies that we as HR formulate, how it affects and also how it impacts the organization. So moving on now, we'll be looking at key elements of effective HR policies. Now, for an HR policy to be effective, there are key things that needs to be taken into consideration. There are key, this is not exhaustive. These are just a few ones that stand out really that makes it easier for everybody to move. Now, the first thing is that your policy has to be clear. It has to be clear. It has to be concise. And I put it down here that HR policy should avoid use of jargons or technical terms. Jargons not being that, okay, just rubbish. No, not rubbish. Now, we know that for every field, there are certain words that are peculiar to that field. However, an HR policy should, as much as possible, to the very minimum or to a very large extent, to be very simple in the sense that somebody that is not as experienced or somebody that is not as expert in that sector should be able to read it and understand immediately what the policy is not saying. It should not be ambiguous. There should not be it should not be a kind of Patrick Egmanol kind of policy. If you don't know who Patrick Egmanol is, then I celebrate you. Yeah, so there should not be jargons. There's no need for so many big words, so to say. It should be clear and it should be concise. So I should be able to, if primary 5 students should be able to pick it up, or let me not go as far as primary 5, let me say HS3 students, to be able to pick up your policy and understand from reading, okay, this is the message this policy is trying to pass along. And then HR policies are meant to be adaptable. They are meant to be adaptable. Like I mentioned earlier, when there was the construction on the bridge, and there was construction on the bridge, we had adjusted our resumption time because of what the peculiar situation of that period. Even quite recently, we had to ask people in the office to work from home for a few days due to the economic situation, and especially where the price of fuel and even the availability of fuel was concerned. So that is you being adaptable with your policies. We already have pre-approved days to work from home, but we just felt like, oh, let's just ease the burden, so to say, on everyone that is working in the organization. And inclusiveness. So your policy has to include everyone, at least people present as at the time of you formulating the policy. One of the key things to do to ensure inclusiveness is that in every organization, there are key people or there are movers, there are change agents in organizations that before HR formulates a policy or in the process of even doing it, you can speak to them. You don't need to show them the entire draft. You don't need to show them the full policy. You can just maybe pick certain aspects, especially policies that has to do with finance. You can always speak to your finance team and let them know that, oh, I'm currently working on this, and this is what I'm looking at. What do you think? They're able to tell you, oh, why don't we go this way? Instead of saying, oh, 10% interest, for instance, maybe in the event of creating a loan policy, instead of saying, okay, over a period of 12 months, there's a 10% interest for every amount that you take. Why not? Okay, if you take 100 to 500, you do a 5%. If you take 500 to 1 million, you do a 10%. If you take 1 million to 2 million, you do a 20%, that kind of thing. So what you've now done is you've tried to bring in different people and ensure that at the end, when this policy is being rolled out, there are other people aside from you as the HR, other people that will now tell other employees and say, oh, I think this policy is a very good one. Even while HR was working on it, to be able to explain this, I got this, I understood this. They now become your own champion, even without you appointing them. And then also it has to be consistent. It has to be consistency in your policy. Over time, many organizations, one of the things that has made for HR policies to break down is that there is selectiveness in the application of the policy. Selectiveness in the sense that, for instance, you have a subordinate, let's say an entry-level staff who speaks very rudely to a manager. And then, but your policy already clearly states that you can't do such a thing. And already the entry-level staff now is being sanctioned as per the policy says. Now, the table is flipped. It is now the manager that is speaking very rudely or bullying, so to say now in this situation, the entry level. And then you are telling the entry level that, don't worry, when you get to that position, you say you understand. No, that is not the essence of HR policy. The essence of HR policy, fine, you cannot question or warn the manager in the presence of the entry level, but there has to be that conversation with the manager, letting him know that, letting him or her know that you can't do this. This is what it means. It means you're bullying, and this is what the policy says. We may need to enforce the policy if this continues. That is why, as HR, you are friend to everybody and you're friend to no one at all. Because at the end, in the long run, also you're also an employee, and the MD might just be watching. The CEO might just be watching just to see how you as HR you are handling that situation or how you're handling that person, because they know what is going on. Sometimes they get to hear what is going on, and they're just watching and saying, "Okay, let me see how HR handles it." And you don't want to be seen as an HR that plays favoritism towards the management alone. There are ways to protect the staff also. There are ways to also speak for the staff in a way that at the end of the day, everybody is on the same page. Everybody feels included. Okay, so we'll just quickly look at the importance of HR policies. I do hope that so far we've been able to get some things from what I've been saying. Now, one of the importance of HR policy is fostering company culture. Still flowing from the example that I just gave, where I was talking about the HR policy being applied across board and not being selective. There has to be consistency in the application of HR policies. When you are consistent, that kind of situation now, you are promoting a culture of mutual respect across all levels. You are making everybody understand that no matter your level, there is respect for you. No one can bully you. No one is allowed to speak to you in a derogatory manner. No one is allowed to, or no one should insult you or make you feel less of yourself in the environment, no matter the position the person holds. I know that in applying that kind of situation, that kind of policy of creating that kind of environment, there are huge challenges, especially I've worked with very, very wonderful people over the course of my career that you are telling them, especially for people in seats of power like the MD, country manager, senior management. You're telling them, oh, you can't say this kind of thing. I've had a senior manager that if he gets angry in the office, it's like using the F word around and everything. And every time my manager and I and my colleague in the HR department, we're always telling him that you can't say this in the office. You can't say this to an employee. And I understand the challenges, but as HR, we cannot stop speaking. We can't stop bringing, can't stop saying the truth, so to say. We can't stop telling people that this is, because what you're doing as you're doing that is you are creating the culture, you are setting the culture of that company. So your policies, the importance is that for every policy you create, you are setting the company culture. You are creating the culture of the company. You are saying, this is our way of life as a company. This is how we operate. This is how we move. This is how we relate with one another. So you're there to guide the value. Your policy should support in such a way that somebody that even comes in knows that just by working maybe 1, 2, 3 days, doesn't necessarily need to go through your onboarding process. Just by working 1, 2, 3 days, you'll know that, okay, in this place, this is what we do. Like, for instance, many companies, first name basis, everybody, you call each other by your first name. Yes, we understand this environment and society we find ourselves in, where once a person is an elder, you're meant to use honorifics such as Mr., Mrs., or even some people even go as far as saying daddy, mommy, auntie, uncle, and all of that. We understand that. But well, certain organizations, it is set that we don't use that. What we do is first name. But I've seen situations where um, one or two people are the honorific still comes out. They still use it. But it's usually you as HR that will still come and say, oh, okay, no, we don't do that. But sometimes it's always better to just let it be. And I've seen staff become very creative and then start hearing them because they can't call that person by the first name. You start hearing things like, oh, my CFO, oh, my HR, all of that, those kind of things. So you just let it be, but you still maintain that, well, we do a first name basis here. And one of the reasons first name basis became a part of companies culture, companies around the world is that it was noticed that, okay, if you call people by their first name, it creates a sense of equality amongst everybody. However, you are always very, 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 very firm on telling them that, fine, we call first name, but there has to be mutual respect for each person that is within the organization. That's how your HR policies come in. And HR policies help to align organizational goals with the staff. You align them because from your policies, people now understand what their roles are, what their contributions look like. They understand it, they get better, and they are able to align themselves with the goal of the company. Because all HR policies, all HR procedures, even as far as our employee engagements, monthly, quarterly, biannually, every end of the year, it's towards that goal, just to align everybody with the organizational goals of the company. And then also, your policy is there to enhance employee morale. Like, for instance, now, after the turn of the year, that is 2024, and after a while, as the economic hardship became more, people were now, many staff were agitating for increase in salary, or even some companies that were fully on site were now advocating for work from home, or even some days to work from home, hybrid, and all of that. So if organizations that were fully on site, when they immediately were able to implement a work from home policy, just make it hybrid in nature, employee morale will go up because now they feel what? They feel heard. They feel included. They feel that, okay, yes, I can actually, when I voice out what I say is being heard and taken into account. So and that's in the long run will help. It's not going to eliminate it. It's not going to stop it entirely, but it will now do what? It will lower your turnover rates. Like, for instance, now personally, before I'm going to even think about moving to any company at all, there are certain things that must just be in place. I know I was making jest with someone the other day. I said, see, I can't go to any company right now that is fully on site. It's not possible. It's going to be very hard to pull me away and I'll say, okay, I'm going from hybrid to fully on site. Why would I want to put myself through that stress of Lagos for 5 days a week? And that's because what I've been able to work over a period of time, for a very long period of time in a hybrid situation. Now, that's already, for me, has made me to just stay. And I've noticed for many of us that even do that, I've noticed that on days when I work from home, I tend to now work from literally 6 a.m. sometimes when I wake up till 9 p.m. or even sometimes till as till 1 a.m. Then I will sleep. So your policies as a HR also, it helps to increase productivity, because when people feel heard, when people feel included, they will do more for you. They want to go that extra mile for you. And then also, your HR policies are there to especially protect the company from litigation, for reduce every risk that the company can face. For instance, your HSE policy, when you have fire extinguishers in the office, when you have fire blankets, exit points, and all of that. In the case or event of a fire outbreak, and you've trained certain employees or even all employees how to use the fire extinguishers, they're able to be like the primary first responders to that fire. It's only when the fire now becomes extreme, where there's need for professionals, then they now call in professionals. But if they're able to just immediately mitigate that, you save properties, you reduce the cost of replacements for the organization. And also sexual harassment policies, or the your policy should be, you're thinking round the clock with your policies, round the clock, in the sense that you're thinking about the organization, you're thinking about the employees. Like, for instance, I was opportunity to work on a policy at one time that had to do with finance, especially how it comes out of the company's pockets, wallets, and it was a loan policy. Let me just be upfront. It was a loan policy. So in the entire process of trying to come up with that loan policy, I had to have sit downs, I had to have meetings with my finance team, even went as far as reading, asking for templates from other organizations. And in the long run, what I was not able to come up with was a kind of policy where my company bears no cost. Because, if, for instance, your company is giving out loan to staff for 6 months, that money is tied down. You cannot use it for business or any other venture. That money is tied down for that 6 months. You now receive it back in bits and bits. What they will have done with the 6 million in that 6 months, they can't do it. Maybe they're not getting 1 million. They're not to do a 1 million venture in the first month, a 1.1 million because of the interest, 1.1 million venture in the second month, that kind of thing. But now the policy that was created removed all of that from the company side and just took the risk to a different organization entirely, like a loan facility, a loan institution. So they were the one bearing that risk. However, what I've now done is I have given my own staff a sense of, oh, I can access certain amount of money even while working in the organization. Money that I might not be able to get if I go directly to this loan facility, because what the company now is standing as a guarantor for me, saying that, okay, every month this certain amount will be deducted from my salary and paid to them directly. So now I'm able to access this loan facility. I have done what? Mitigated the risks for my company. I have also, in the same breath, I have also what? And increase employee morale by making available more funds available for that employee's usage. So that is the importance of one of the importance of HR policy. What you are ensuring that what you are mitigating the risks, and also you ensure compliance. Like, for instance, now disciplinary actions process. We know that if we leave certain decisions to just the management alone, a staff will err today and he or she is getting a termination letter on the spot. However, it is not every offense that can warrant that kind of decision-making process. So once your policy is in place, where grievances are concerned, where disciplinary actions are concerned, you just follow it. That's all you just do. Somebody else, you immediately let them know that, see, we've agreed on this. We came up with this disciplinary process. We've agreed on it. The first thing that we need to do is give the staff a query. It's only in the situation where the action that was carried out there are witnesses that can say that, okay, this action or this grievance that happened was a threat to life. Then we can now probably skip certain procedures, but it doesn't mean that we're going to emulate the entire procedure. What can now happen is, instead of giving a query, you can even give a written query and just immediately give a written query, call the person that is meant to receive the query, sit the person down, respond to the query on the spot, set up your disciplinary panel, and what the decision is taken immediately, and the person is getting his or her letter. But we're not removing that process. We are only doing what we are only adapting our process to the situation at hand. But if there are no guides, if there's nothing, what you find is that people are now haphazardly, we just react to each situation. So when that happens, there's no consistency anymore. In this person's situation, we're able to set up a panel. In the other person's situation, we didn't set up any panel. But once you have a process, once you have a policy in place, it guides against that. Now, for the last one, it enhances employee engagement, because what you have created a sense of security. You have created a sense of security for the employees. They know that I have certain benefits. I'm protected because of these policies that I have. And even one policy that many organizations are now beginning to do is informally, but some are going to put it in black and white, is employee engagement policy that states, okay, every quarter, it states it clearly, every quarter there must be an employee engagement by way of a party, by way of maybe even just having games nights, movie nights. Many organizations are now beginning to have it in black and white, so that it is not, and that's why some organizations now, some HR teams are coming up with employee engagement calendar ahead of the following year. So, and by the time all of this is being implemented, what happens is, by the time the calendar is being created, it's sent ahead of time to the finance team, letting them know that, okay, this is our budget, this is what we're looking at for each of these engagements. So please try to make available funds, make funds available towards those dates that we're looking at. We will try not to spend the entire money, because already finance is HR as a cost center. We'll try not to spend the entire money. However, we'll be needing it in this period. And all of this really, once we're able to get our HR policy process very well, we will notice that a lot of the stress that we face would reduce. I understand also that there are certain companies where, no matter how HR tries to put these processes in place to create these policies, it is still the same management that I agreed and said, okay, fine, this is good to go. We can go ahead with this. It's still the same management that will come back and do what circumvents the whole thing, or even frustrates the efforts of the HR. I understand that, and I really, really, really do feel for my colleagues in that kind of situation. But we cannot, because of that, not have the policies in place. We cannot, because of that, not have the policies in place. It is better to have it and have something that you use to hold the management accountable for, by saying that we all agreed on this policy. But in this situation now, you're the one that is trying to circumvent it. You're the one that is not trying to not make us implement this policy. But if you don't have something in black and white, if you do not have it in black and white, what you're just doing is you are just speaking to the management. You are not holding them accountable. So please still go through the pain of forming your policy, go through that pain, go through that process of forming your policies, and get the required approval for your policy, and keep fighting the good fight of implementing it, because the benefits are not just for the organization, it's also for the staff, which you are also one of. Okay, we'll just quickly look at impact of HR policies as we round off this session. So the first one is increase in retention rates. Engaged employees are more likely to stay longer. Yeah, the more you engage employees, the more employees feel heard, the more you take feedback from them. You're always hearing what what their needs, their concerns are, and creating a process around it, the more they will want to stay. Because now what you have done is you've created a very accommodating environment for them. You've created a very accommodating environment for them where they feel, okay, I can go into work today, and no matter what comes up, I am able to, I have a listening here somewhere. And it might not be immediately, but after a period of time, I would definitely get the required respite that I am looking for. And then also positive work environments. There is nobody, not even HR, not even MD or CEO that wants to work in a toxic work environment. People behave toxic, yes, but they don't want to work in that kind of environment. For whatever reason, many at times, for varying reasons, maybe because of past experiences, maybe because of what is going on at home. And some of them is just like, it's just plain old childhood experiences. And then once in a while, maybe it's because boyfriend has said, I'm no longer interested in relationship, or the girlfriend has said, oh, I like your best friend better. But nobody wants to work into an organization that is toxic. They can endure till they find a better option. But believe me, the moment they see one that looks better, they are gone. Like they'll drop them. Some of them will never even drop any letter. They'll just disappear. So, but the impact of our policies as HR is that we use it to create a positive work environment, anti-bullying policies, saying that you cannot, just because you're a manager, you cannot. Discrimination policy, just because you're a manager, or in a hiring process, somebody, a lady comes and we find out that, oh, the lady is pregnant, and because of that, we want to now say we're not employing the person. No, that is wrong. Because you're not really employing you're employing because of the skills he or she has, rather, because of the skills she has and what she can contribute to the organization. What should not be the conversation is, okay, fine, we know you're pregnant, you're close to 10. What can we do? How can we work around it? Is the role one that she can work from home? We also give minimal support from home till she is fully able to come back. And I've noticed that in situations like that, what you now have is you now have loyal employees where they feel like, oh, they feel like for them, because of them, you bend the rule a little, but not that you bend the rule. What you have just done is you've sat down, you looked at both sides. What would be beneficial in the long run for both parties? I've had a situation where a staff had gone on maternity leave, and then after 3 months, she had reached out to me. She called me and she explained our situation, saying, oh, she will need extra 3 months, and she needs extra 3 months to be at home and just take care of the kid and a child. And I said, okay, give me a few minutes. I went to speak with the management, and the immediate feedback was no, that we have to just let her go and find a replacement. And I was like, she's just asking for 3 months. She's even willing to go on that 3 months without pay. However, I understood from the company's point of view why we cannot allow that extra 3 months, because there's going to be now the extra 3 months will now leave a strain on our current colleagues in that position. And I made a suggestion. I said, okay, fine. Instead of us giving her 3 months, let's give her 1 month. And then in that 1 month, it's going to be without pay, like she already asked for. Then the 1 month's pay that will have gone to her, that the company will not take back, we will split it between the other two that are left in the system that are going to be covering for her in that period. We will let them know, these other two, that, okay, see, your colleague is not coming back due to certain medical reasons. However, this is compensation that is coming to you. And I went and that was approved, and I went back with that feedback. And I can tell you that the two people, definitely is more money for them. They didn't even complain about the extra workload for that 1 month. They didn't complain. They were happy to do it, because what for them is extra money. They've already been doing the extra workload for 2-3 months without any extra pay, but 1 month more with a pay. And then the lady who had requested for 3 months, now what happened was she was glad, she was really appreciative, and she said, okay, yeah, she was able to come back and all of that. So that is why we have the policy. But if there was no policy in the first place, there was nothing for me to use as a yardstick for a conversation. And there was no way I was going to be able to foster a positive work environment or create one for all parties involved. And it increases productivity. It increases productivity because they feel secure, they feel valued, they understand, they're able to focus more on their jobs because they know that there is a rule book, there is a guide they can always fall back on. I've had time and time and time and time again employees telling me, HR, sure, you know that you cannot just come and be telling all this one. Your handbook says, and I'm glad to hear that kind of thing because it tells me that what they're engaged. They even want to know what is in your handbook. They know what is in handbook, and they're even telling it to you. So by you know that has already done 50 to 70% of your work already. Because one of the hardest things to get people to do really is to read the handbook in the first place. One of the hardest things. Like when I joined my current organization, one of my first tasks was what, to just review the entire handbook and reduce that size because it was quite bulky and reduce that size. And by the time I was able to do that, we now reintroduce it to everybody. We now have more people that have read it. So the goal was achieved. So it's not easy getting people to even read it. Now that they read it, they now know more. They understand certain things. Even sometimes when things happen, they are the ones telling me that I understand with you that this is what you need to do because the rule already says once you do this kind of thing, this is what happens. So it reduces even you as HR, your own stress. It reduces your stress. You're able to focus more, increases your productivity. And even for the employees also, their own productivity is increased also. And HR policies just, the impact is that it will boost employee satisfaction. It will boost employee satisfaction across board because now they know what to expect. They even know what the organization expects from them. And that also speaks to your performance management policy, where, okay, every month or every 2 months or every quarter, the staff has to have a meeting with his or her manager just to ensure that he or she is still on track to meet the set out goals and KPIs for the month, for the quarter, for the year. And once this is happening regularly and then feedback is being taken, what happens? People feel more satisfied with their job. There is increased morale across board between all of the staff, and they just plug in. Sincerely, they just plug in and they try to achieve it. Where you start having issue is your staff feeling that the rule only applies to certain people. It doesn't apply across board. By the time that seed is sown, it's going to take a whole lot as HR for you to be able to now bring it out of there. So it's going to take a whole lot for you to be able to bring it out from there. All right, so thank you everyone for listening to me so far. So I hope that we're able to learn certain things from the presentation. If we have any questions or any contributions that I would like to make at this point, you can just indicate and I will call on to ask your question or to make your contributions. So any question or any contribution can signify by raising your hands. Question or contribution. Okay. So thank you all for your comments. Thank you all for your comments. I'm glad we enjoyed the session. Okay. All right. So I'll just pick some questions that we already have. I'll just pick some
Hello,
questions.
people are dropping questions already on the chat box. So
Yes.
if I look at those.
Yes, Anne is asking, in a sales company where your boss doesn't care about employees knowing the company's policy just to bring sales, what will the HR do? Okay, awesome. I think I found myself in that situation before, once at a organization I worked in. Yes, I worked directly with the MD, and the MD just didn't was not really all about that policy process. I remember a time I was working and I just said, HR, sir, and he went, this person just needs to go. She needs to be suspended immediately. And I said, yes, sir. He gave me the person's name, gave me what to do, and I said, yes, sir. Immediately on the spot, I said, yes, sir. I gave it about an hour to 2 hours, and then I went back to meet him and I said, sir, I hear you. She will go on a suspension. However, let's do it this way. And I laid out another way to go about it. And that was part one of that entire process. Part two was, and I had a conversation with the staff involved saying, okay, what is going on? Talk to me. What is going on? As your HR now, I just want to know what is going on with you. I've noticed this and this and this. And reports I've been getting before joining is that you are this, you are that, you are this. And I really want to get you to a point where when we're talking about outstanding staff in the organization, you are one of those that will be called. And person opened up to me and told me a lot of things. I said, okay, fine, good. And I went back with that feedback from the person to the MD, saying, okay, MD Alpha, I know she'll go on a suspension. I'm not arguing that one, but this is what I was able to gather after speaking with her. And this is what I feel we should do. However, this is a suspension letter. And so MD was like, okay, fine. No, HR, don't give, no, 1 month. Why are you giving that 1 month? I said, boss, I don't know. I said 1 month. I said, okay, no, reduce it. I said, okay, 2 days. I'll be say yes. I'll change it on the spot to 2 days. So what am I driving out here is this. Every organization is very, 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 very concerned with the sales and making profits. That is why a business is set up, making profits. No business is, except from an NGO. And even looking at it, NGO is about profits, but their own profit is what's making impact with the message they're trying to pass across. If you speak the language as an HR of the management and then go to the staff and speak the language to that staff of the staff also, you will find yourself in a better position to be able to mitigate this crisis. Now, and what am I saying to you is this: have regular conversations with the staff, letting them just listen to them first, get their feedbacks, then also now try to tell them that, see, I understand you want salary increase. Okay, no problem. However, see the business in the last 3 months, see what we'll be able to bring in. We will not be able to implement this if we don't get the business to this point. So let us do this. Let us have a 3 month plan. Let us get the business to this point. Then I, as HR, will now go and fight for you to be able to get you this. I'm not saying I will get it. However, I'll have that conversation. So when you're with the management, you speak the management terms. When you're with the staff, you speak the staff's terms. You just need to always find that balance between each of them. You are not telling anybody, okay, no, I'm not listening to you. You're listening to both parties and you're finding new ways for both of them to coexist. I hope I'll be able to answer that question, Anne. Greatness says, my question isn't around policy making, it's about employee engagement activities. First off, is it really visible for an organization trying to cut costs to go by the 3 months employee engagements? Yes, it is very visible. So I think most of the time what we fail to understand is employee engagement, you don't necessarily need to go out of the office. You can plan movie nights. Trust me, a movie on Netflix, buy popcorn, buy drinks, your staff will love it. Popcorn and drinks, do we love it? Everybody just in the office we watch a movie after work hours, just watch 1 hour movie, we all laugh and we all go home. Or you can even have a games night. Tell everybody to bring their games that they have. If they have PS, they should bring it. They have Jenga, they should bring it. They have Scrabble, they should bring it. And everybody does what? We all play the games. And what the company just does is what? Buy snacks. Just make snacks available. I've also organized employee engagements in a company I worked in where we did a potluck. What I mean by potluck is this: we told everybody that was coming to cook, bring food, bring drinks. But only thing I would just make sure we did was each person, you're going to tell us what you're cooking, what drink you're bringing, so that we now have a plan. So by the time we had like 2, 3 people saying they're bringing rice, and that person that came and said rice, say no, bring in something else, can I have so much rice? And that person that said, oh, I'm bringing donuts, bring something else, can I have donuts? And see, that is employee engagement. You don't need to take your staff out of the office, really. And the entire, for that potluck situation, and the entire cost was about 50,000 naira to the company. We just added a little more. Let's not be as if, okay, the company not do anything. So yes, it is very visible. You just need to now go down to the basics. Make it more like a social gathering for you and your employees. So Binga asks that how do you navigate management's unwillingness to cooperate with policies execution? Management, especially when management really are on the receiving end of the sanction of the policy, they will hardly want to follow it. And sometimes you need to just understand with the management. Let me just put it that way. You need to just understand the management as to why they do not want to cooperate with executing that policy as at that time. You need to understand with them. You need to see reason with them. And then you now explain to them why they need to follow it. Make them see why that what you're suggesting, you know it's going to take a longer while, but you are trying to protect the company against litigation, especially in cases of dismissals, terminations, and sanctions. Now you're trying to protect the company what against litigation, or you're trying to ensure that what you do not kill the morale of the employees. So the thing is, accept, understand, then explain, and then give them 2 to 3 options to choose from, with the goal of whatever option they choose, you are reducing the risks involved to the company. So that's one of the ways you can always navigate management unwillingness. Yes. So second question from Greatness says, secondly, why are the employee engagement activities that a large company can engage in, please? Okay, what are the employee engagement activities that a large company, size company can engage in, please? So I don't know how big the company is. I really don't know how big the company is. But you can have football activities. I don't know what the gender breakdown of the company looks like. You can probably rent out a football pitch, a 5-a-side football pitch, and have people play. Even ladies can actually play. And what is it called? And it's really going to be fun. And yeah, you can have games, like I said, you can have games night, you can have movies night. And if you have people across different locations, like it's not just your head office, you have site operations also. You can probably maybe pick 2 or 3 from each of those sites that are available on those days to come join in. Or sometimes one thing I've advised a colleague to do one time was per region, especially if it's not like end of the year kind of thing. You can just do a per region kind of employee engagement where those people in those regions, they meet up, just have a calendar around this. And then even you as HR, once in a while, you visit those kind of sessions. What an insightful section. Thank you. As a beginner HR who is setting up an HR department, our HR's policy is very important to start with. Yes. So it's a yes and a no. It's a yes and a no answer. The no part of it is this: you need to first understand what the demands are for you that you're trying to set up the department. And you need to be able to, one thing you can do is do a needs analysis. Try to understand, okay, what are the things as HR you are meant to address in the organization. Once you have all of that, now knock it off. Like I tell people, start with the smaller fires before you get to the big fires. So you start small by small. You start little by little. Start taking it from the least to the biggest issue, because the biggest issues are things that at management level need to be agreed upon and approved. So, but the little issues like trying to get people to come in early, those ones you can have conversations with people. By the time you have like a 1 week, 2 week conversation with them, you now draft a policy around it, try to explain to them, okay, this is why we need you to come in early, or this is why we need you to dress corporate on Mondays. And you also set that example to them. So yes, HR policies are very important. But for companies that are just starting, it's always good to go on a needs basis. As you identify the issues, you create policies around it. Please, what differentiates HR policies from HR processes? So policies and processes, since really and factually speaking, they are one and the same. So I'll just say that policy is just a total encompassment of the process. It's just a total encompassment of the process that you want to follow to achieve the goal of your policy. Because, for instance, you can't have, let's say you have a dress code policy. Each day may probably have different dresses that person can wear. Maybe on a Monday, you have to just fully corporate. Then by Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, you're trying to now say, okay, you can start dressing down. You can just wear your casual or business casual. But it is just, is that the same? It's just it's just encompassing all of that. Yeah, so Frederick is asking, in a situation where you are not the HR manager of the company, but an HR officer, I notice that so many things are wrong with the culture, and the MD is quite crazy and can insult and shout at anyone at any time, and never ready to listen to anyone. The HR managers are aware of all of this, but so on board, what would you do? Frederick, I will advise you, you are not, so how do I put this now? So as the HR officer, whatever you are actually bringing to the company has to go through your HR manager. You need to understand something. One thing I learned very early in my career is that I'm in any organization, as far as I have a manager I report to, I'm in any organization, any department to make that manager look good. It is not my place to look good. In carrying out my functions now, trying to make my manager look good, would I now shine? It's possible, but I'm not going to allow that attention come to me. I'll immediately redirect it to my manager, because there are certain informations as HR officer you are not private to. Take it. You're not private to certain things, you're not private to certain conversations. It might look like the HR manager is unbothered. It might look like that, but you don't know how long he or she has been fighting that battle that you are just seeing. Or you don't know how he or she is fighting that battle. You don't even know if what you see the MD do right now is even a watered out version of what he or the MD used to do. And that is as a result of what the HR manager having been working on the MD. So whatever you want to do, whatever really you want to do, whatever new initiative you want to bring, you need to channel it through your HR manager. Can you now get to a point where the MD recognizes you as a person, as HR officer? Yes, you can get to that point. But also at that point, still ensure that whatever conversation I have with the MD, you make the MD know that, oh, sir, me and my manager were talking the other day about something that happened, and then he made some suggestions and I agreed. It is not you. It is really not you. Let it be your manager that is doing all of that. You just ensure that what you work on, what you need to do, you sort out every task that you have with you, and then whatever the suggestions you have, you channel it through your manager. I go for meetings. There are meetings in my company, current company, where I am the one that is meant to be there. Before I speak in those meetings, even when it's like a situation that just immediately comes up, I'm chatting my manager up immediately, letting her know that, and you'll see this and this. Or sometimes I even, before speaking in that meeting, if I know I'm meant to say some things, I would have told her before getting to that meeting so that she knows. And then when I'm speaking, I'm not saying I'm like, oh, we in the departments, we did this. It is not you. It is really not you. So channel every suggestion that you have through your manager. Yeah. Princess made a contribution to say it is important that HR policy is clear and concise. This helps to prevent us from unnecessary arguments and time wasted in interpreting the policy. Yes. Please, how often can an organization review its HR policy? As often as possible. As often as possible. Your policies have to be adaptable. However, it should not, just because you are trying to review the policy does not mean you just make changes anyhow. It has to be a well thought out change process. A well thought out change process in the sense that you're looking at, okay, if we make this change to this policy now, in the next 1 year, in the next 6 months, in the next 1 week, would we need also to still come back and make this change again? So that's like sometimes it is always better to just sit back and allow for the process, allow for the situation to flesh out so that you have more information, you have more feedback. But however, and sometimes your review can be temporary. Like I mentioned during the course of this presentation, I'm learning that because of the economic situation we find ourselves in, we had to tell employees to work from home for 2 days, aside from the already agreed upon days to work from home. But now this week, everybody's back to the office. And then we are going back to our normal, what's it called, work from home days policy. So there is not set in stone, because one thing that is constant is change. And one of the things I mentioned was that HR policies have to be adaptable. There has to be adaptability of the policy. Things will change. Things will come up. New ways of doing things will come up. Don't get lost behind. Just think it out, think it well. But as much as possible, there are times when for many companies, the HR, the rule for reviewing of policy is after 1 year or after 6 months for many companies. But however, during the course, sometimes then even your policy, sometimes your policies will change without you officially changing it, by way of the way people receive, interpret, and apply the policy in the company. Sometimes your policy will change without you even knowing. So once you notice that, what you just do is you sit down, you look at, okay, what are the changes that have happened, and how do we now incorporate it into what we have on paper? The goal is to keep being ahead of whatever may happen. I've had to, for instance, one of the things that we've had to change consciously in my organization was we used to employ a lot of fresh graduates who have not even gone for their service. After a while, we just noticed that for like 3 to 6 months, we had a lot of people that were sending email and saying, no, I have to go to camp, I have to go to camp, I have to go to camp, I have to go to camp. And we're like, what's going on? Because it now puts us in the HR seat now at a whole lot of thinking process, trying to get people to cover all those roles. And it was not like, okay, one person goes this month, one person goes the following month. In a month, we had like 3 to 4 people leaving. And why? So what we now do, we just sat down and said, okay, as it is now, if you are not done with camp, we're not employing you. But it is not yet time, it's not yet our review cycle time where that is concerned. But we looked at what the current situation and how it affected the business, and we made that decision. So I'm not going to say that there has to be a limited time. I'll just say that as much as possible, after a well thought out process, looking at all of the variables and ensuring that it's not something that you're not coming back to in fact, the next day to come and review. Okay. Yeah. Larry says, Adele says, one of the 7 levels of power, never outshine the master. Yes, never outshine the master. Never outshine your manager. Always channel everything through your manager. You are there to make your manager look good. And in the long run, because trust me, we are all getting to that position of being a manager, and you will still, even when you are a HR manager, you will still report to either the MD or the CEO. Even MDs and CEO reports to the board, and the board reports to investors. So there is always somebody to report to. And once you start making yourself the star of the show, you take the responsibility of the star of the show. Okay, thank you all for your kind words. Thank you all for your kind words in the comment section, and thank you for your contributions. Thank you for your questions that was asked. Thank you. I see Dr. Oluyemi is back on the call. Yeah. So thank you everyone once again. And once again, thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much, sir, for this opportunity to take the session this evening. I promise to be back very, very soon with a new topic. All right, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you so much, Kunle, for your presentation. God bless you. And thanks to every single individual who joined tonight on a midweek. We appreciate your passion, your commitment to continuous personal and professional development. Tonight, this session will be uploaded and we can watch it and rewatch it and share with other stakeholders. Ladies and gentlemen, please let's get the rest we need and also support the rest of our family members. Have a good night rest. Bye, everyone. Thank you so much, Kule. God bless you, my brother.